Never before in its short life has the euro faced a crisis like the one it faces now. Tonight, rumours abound of whether a German-led bailout is on the cards for Greece. The country is in danger of defaulting on its severe debts and may, in an extreme scenario, even leave the eurozone. Will it get saved? Will the contagion spread around Europe? And could we see speculators bring Greece to its knees to make a fast buck? Well, in a moment, we'll be talking to the Nobel Prize-winning economist Joseph Stiglitz, the Spanish ambassador to London, Carlos Casajuana, and to a man who's betting against the euro hedge fund manager, Hugh Hendry. First, our economics editor, Paul Mason, reports from Athens.
In Athens tonight, they're preparing for a confrontation. Tomorrow, public sector workers will fill these streets, their aim to paralyse the country and put a stop to the government's austerity programme. If they succeed, then for the European Union, it'll be Plan B. The problem is, there is no Plan B, and not much of a Plan A either. The crisis that began in Athens started as a budget problem on the periphery of Europe. Now it's a credibility problem right at the centre of Europe. Because if Greece should need a bailout, there are no mechanisms to do it, no rules that allow it, and the markets suspect no political will in Brussels to make it happen. And for currency traders, that's what they call an opportunity. In the past 7 days, hedge funds and banks have built up so-called short positions on the euro, totalling $8 billion. It's a one-way bet on the value of the euro falling as Europe grapples to resolve the Greek budget crisis. Finance ministers are crying speculation. To the bankers, it's just common sense.
Well, in foreign exchange, I'm afraid to say, and I sit surrounded by a lot of traders, it's not a game of morality, it's a relative game. And relative to how we were last year, the euro looks weakened, and therefore you sell it, and that's how it works.
When countries run up too much debt, historically, there are 4 ways out. Devalue the currency, not possible for Greece as it's in the euro. Slash interest rates, not possible because the rates are set by the European Central Bank. Print money and buy up debt, not possible for Greece to do alone. And then there's a bailout. EU rules say that's not allowed, but it's what the finance ministers are frantically discussing.
Well, is there a contingency for it? No, there is not, and this is what the test is. What does the treaty say? You could put the treaty on the ground and all the treaties and you'd be 8 foot tall. So you'd have to read through them, the interpretations are different. And this is the puzzle, and this is going to set precedent for Europe for the future.
Now the concern has spread from Greece to other highly indebted countries. The Eurozone rules say budget deficits should be below 3%. In Greece, it's 13%. For Spain, 11.4%, and Portugal, 9.3% of GDP.
Any problems, big problems with Greece, is that it'll affect Italy, it'll affect Spain, it'll affect Ireland, could move on to France, and that would be devastating. So you've got to nip it in the bud. And if Greece doesn't, what should Spain do? What should Portugal do? Take austerity or go for a bailout? And these are the moral hazards in financial markets that we face.
What's happening right now is that the financial markets are staging a test of credibility for these governments. Effectively, the bond traders are trying to force them down the path of further, faster austerity measures. Spain's finance minister has accused the markets of dirty dealing. But again, it comes down to the politics of austerity.
I think that it's very difficult to a government like the socialist government of Spain to adopt the necessary measurement that it needs to control the fiscal deficit. It needs to increase taxes, it needs to control the expenditure, it needs to freeze the payment of public employees. All those type of policies, you need to have a strong backup, a strong support to take them. I think that it's a big doubt that this government will be able to make those type of policies.
Right now, there's shuttle diplomacy with each of the countries whose sovereign debts are being questioned, trying to bolster confidence. But, as in Greece, it'll ultimately come down to a prolonged battle to enforce tax rises, public spending cuts, wage cuts, pension cuts.
It's fundamentally a political issue about treading a very narrow line between radical structural change and social cohesion. And I think that the financial markets will certainly discriminate very sharply, eventually, between those countries that can tread that line and take risks with both structural reform and social cohesion, and those that can't.
The sovereign debt crisis has exposed a flaw in the design of the Eurozone. To make a currency strong, you don't just need banknotes and a central bank, you need central authority and political will. Some in the markets are beginning to see the euro not as a permanent currency for all time, but as temporary and fragile as, well, Lehman Brothers. In Athens, the mood tonight is more sombre than angry. These refuse collectors face a 10% wage cut, pension cuts and massive job losses. Despite that, union activists here are still blaming global capitalism, not the recently elected left-wing government for the economic pain. But to the young, facing 27% unemployment, minimal pension rights and years of economic depression, it feels like a dream betrayed.